Hello, juicy listeners. Welcome to the Radical Pleasure Revolution podcast. I am your fabulously delicious host, Dr. Emma, also known as Emma Gone Rogue on the social medias. I'm a clinical sexologist and sexual empowerment coach with a PhD in human sexuality and over 10 years of professional experience educating, advocating, and creating deeply healing and radically empowering spaces for people's sexual liberation. It's truly my life's purpose and passion. This podcast is for you if you want to learn how to embrace your authentic sexuality, expand your pleasure potential, and unleash your power in the bedroom and beyond. I'll be sharing revolutionary perspectives and conversations on topics including sex, sexuality, pleasure, bodies, relationships, self-love, healing, empowerment, and more, all from a uniquely thought-provoking intersectional sexological framework that I use professionally with clients and students, as well as in my personal life and relationships. The thoughts and perspectives I share in this podcast are coming from my lived experiences as a white, queer, yet straight-passing, plus-sized, cis-privileged woman and non-binary femme, and a person who's a survivor with chronic mental and physical health challenges. I navigate the world with a lot of privilege and varying degrees of marginalization. Being a part of the revolution in a radical way is not something I take lightly, and I'm always seeking to do better and grow. So if I ever fuck up or say something harmful, I am genuinely open to your feedback and learning how I and all of us can keep doing better. I'm so excited to share, connect, and truly expand with you all on this podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes for more information on how you can connect directly with me and my work if you're interested in going even deeper. Each season is going to have its own flavor and style, so stick around and enjoy the ever-evolving journey with me. Let's do it. Hello, radical pleasure babes. Yay, I just love singing that every time. That might be a thing. Get ready for it, listeners. Radical pleasure babes. Hey, I am glad to be back this week. I had planned on being with you all last week. I had something come up, had to practice what I preach and take care of me and change plans and just trust that it's all going to work out. And here we are. The world kept spinning, the sun kept rising, and look at that. I think I say all of those things out loud because sometimes, especially like if we're feeling emotionally charged about something, emotions, emotional power being our theme at the moment. Just when we're in those situations, it can feel so intense in the moment. We can have all sorts of stories, and especially if you're somebody, which a lot of us are, somebody's carrying any kind of trauma, then I think our brains can jump to these really extreme places, and it can feel very overwhelming in the moment of like, oh, I can't possibly say no to this thing, or I can't not do something that I committed to or said that I would do. I think it's important to remember, at least for me, when I've been in these emotionally charged places, yay, we have some people. Hello. For those of you listening to the podcast, this episode is being recorded live currently on Instagram. And we have Tracy and Shay the Bay. Oh, yay. So, yeah, I was just telling everybody about how last week I had to take my own medicine and take a little personal day and didn't get to record the live, and how when we're in those moments, it can be, for me, it has felt grounding and just reassuring as I move through an emotionally intense experience to also kind of remember, like I've literally told myself in my head, like the sun is going to rise tomorrow. The world's going to keep spinning. Like this problem isn't going to stop any of that. And you also don't have to let it stop you in this moment from, feeling okay or feeling even just empowered that you will be able to get through whatever season or experience or emotion you're in. And knowing that those emotional intensities don't have to last forever. In fact, they never do last forever. No single emotion lasts forever. Even now, I don't want to speak for anybody but my own experience and what I've witnessed, but I can't imagine some people with serious depression. It can feel like you never experience anything but that. And so, not speaking for people in those situations, I have experienced depression myself. I think more trauma related depression is what I believe I experience, and also like hormone based depression since I have a thyroid condition. So for me, it has been helpful to, in those moments, see if I can remember like how it feels to remember that like everything's going to be okay, everything's going to get taken care of. I can just fully surrender to this moment and to this experience, and I don't have to hold anybody else. I don't have to hold like that holding feeling can feel very contracting and like constrictive. And that when I'm having those emotional experiences, it feels so good to see if I can sort of melt and surrender and kind of open or let go just to an extent that helps that emotion move through me. And I can feel so much more empowered when I'm in that embodied place than when I'm constricted and really wrapped up into the emotional story that I'm making up about whatever's going on. And yeah, I was thinking about that because last week I was having my own stuff and I needed space to move through it and to feel. And I did not have the capacity to come on last week. And so I was like, well, that's fine. We can talk about it this week and keep on with our theme of emotional power and how important emotions are in our lives, in our relationships, in sexuality, in sex. They really are like a pillar of these things, and you can't navigate your sex life, you can't navigate your relationships without having a conversation and having an understanding and an embodiment of your emotions as well. And so that's why I think it's important that we have these conversations and we think about our emotional I don't think emotional intelligence is necessarily, like I used to use the word emotional intelligence pretty loosely, but when I really think about it, it's more than just emotional intelligence. It's emotional embodiment, it's emotional integration, it's emotional harmony, where we know how to dance with our emotions, we know how to be in our emotions, we know how to feel our emotions, and ride those waves instead of just like emotional intelligence sometimes feels like a more cognitive relationship with our emotions and how maybe we communicate our emotions, which is part, for sure, big part of that is good. And also there's like this big body part as well of like the sensations, the feelings, the being able to truly sit in an emotion. If you've ever heard people say like sit in an experience or sit in the discomfort, there's an embodiment to that. There's a physicality and an energetics to that process. So that's what I was doing last week. long story short, um, I love how my stories can get so long and twisty and wordy. I hope you all listeners appreciate them as much as I find humor in them. So that's what I was doing last week. And I do think it's related to, and I so appreciate my current and my continued learning and understanding of just emotional power, emotional embodiment, and the tools that I talk about in the masterclass. The Emotional Power Masterclass really have been life-changing for me and for people I've worked with, for my colleagues. It's a movement. It's a movement of sorts. And, to be fair, my understanding truly is that so many of these embodied practices were indigenous. This wisdom with and this understanding and appreciation for the body is something that cultures and peoples throughout history and long ago have always known, and that has sort of been lost, I would say through colonization and over medicalization and over intellectualization and trying to like bring things up to the brain and to like numbers and figures, and we sort of lost touch to the body. And yeah, I think we could have a really interesting conversation about that as well. But I'll leave that there for today's discussion. But I feel like coming back to this knowing and this appreciation, and truly even more than that, it's a need, it's a necessity that we can have an empowered relationship with our emotions, that we can return to the wisdom of our bodies, and that it's almost like it's almost like society and culture has like cut off our bodies and we're like these heads just walking around and we're so disconnected. And I think that shows up in the bedroom so much for people. They are so in their heads, and that's like a mirror and a reflection of how so many of us in society and culturally are showing up in life. I think about even just going to school in this country, in this culture. We go, and even as children, they start training us as children to go sit down at a desk, listen to one person talk, and like focus with your mind, like you're sitting there. It's like they're putting your body kind of like like control it, contain it, hold it still, and then focus and listen with your mind. We're like disconnecting from our bodies. I love it when schools continue to allow children to learn with their bodies, to learn through experience, to learn by touching and smelling things and picking things up and tasting things, which I get it, can be risky, but that like learning with our bodies, learning with our emotions, in addition to learning with our mind and our intellect and all of that stuff as well, is so much richer. And so is sex when we are when we're in it with our body, when we're in it with our mind, our focus, our attention, our sensations, our emotions are present to the sexual experience. It's just so much richer. And I say that like it's obvious or easy maybe, or something like that, but actually embodying that takes practice, takes work. And I'd be lying if I told you that I was like perfect at that and always can just fully bring my whole self and drop in to a sexual experience or any experience in that way. I think I used to be able to drop into experiences with my mind very well. I think that's one of the reasons I was always a really good student, because I could learn, I could just listen and learn things and focus for a while. but I wasn't learning with my body. And when I started learning with my body, I was like, whoa, there's so much more going on and here. And there were things that I was ignoring in myself, like my gut, my intuition. We use that phrase, like listen to your gut, or what does your gut say? And there's some real intelligence there. We even know now, and here's the nerdy intellectual part, but we actually do know now that there's like a brain in our stomach. Like, we have multiple brains. It's not just our brain up in our head. In our skull, we actually have a brain in our gut that communicates very similarly to the brain in our head, how it communicates. And so we have like intelligence in the body. And I think emotions are a key to that intelligence. Our emotions are like communicators. Our emotions communicate what the body and the wisdom and the brain in our in our body is telling us. And it can communicate. One of the ways it communicates is through our emotions. It communicates through physical sensations. It communicates through, if you've ever randomly had like some intuition or a memory pop up or something like that, but it feels like the body like sent that memory, or really channeled that thought, as opposed to something kind of going from the head down, but more from the body up. It's a different sensation. And I think it's just really important to like connect with those things. And I think it can really, more than it's really important, I think that it can change your life. I think it can change your relationships. I think it can change the world if we all came home to our bodies and really started doing the healing that we need individually and collectively. If we started to really include and integrate the body and the whole person, their energy, their spirituality, their sexuality, when we include all of those things, I think that's when we have like true revolutions and true transformation. And it's really powerful. And I'm just here for it. And I want people to be a part of that. So I did want to go over a few questions people might have about this masterclass. And like, we've been talking about emotional power for a few episodes now, and you might be intrigued, you might be resonating, you might be like feeling, again, maybe you're feeling an emotional pull or something, a sensation of like, I want to step closer to this. But you might be having some questions. And so I wanted to just think of some questions that you might have. Also, feel free to put some in the chat if you are live, but you might be wondering like, what? So, I say, I teach you 12 simple practices. And you might be thinking, well, what do you mean by a practice? What's a practice? And so what I mean by that is these 12 practices. You can use the word practice, exercise, tool. I kind of use those interchangeably, but they are what we call embodiment practices, or an embodiment experience. And you might be thinking, what's an embodiment experience? And that's really where we try to get your body involved in an experience. And so I would guide you through a practice that you would then be able to guide yourself through, and use it as a tool or as an exercise to help you with emotional integration, emotional digestion, to process an emotion, to express an emotion, and to really just practice mastery around your emotions. And so I would guide you something like take a deep breath, one of the tools I guide you through, it's like take a deep breath and start to feel, like call in the emotion of anger and really start to feel the sensations of anger. If you need to use a memory, if you need to use a person, a situation, anything like that to help you call in the anger, the emotion anger, then you start to feel the anger as sensations in your body. And then I would guide you to actually express the anger with your body by stomping. So I'd guide you to like start stomping your legs intentionally. I'd invite you to sound, like yell or scream or curse, and really let that anger come through your voice. And that's just an example right there of a practice that I teach in the masterclass. And so there are 12 of those tools that you can use to really help you process your emotions, reconnect with your emotions, feel your emotions. I think a lot of us experience our emotions in more of a cognitive way, and we feel numb to our emotions. When I say what are the sensations, a lot of people are like, I don't feel any sensations. I just know I'm pissed off or I'm sad, or I'm not really feeling any emotion right now, so I'm really not feeling any sensations. And that's also super normal. And doing these practices over and over can start to melt that numbness. And over time, you can reconnect to the body's way of communicating through sensations, with your emotions. So that's what I mean by practice. I think in my industry, we can like throw terms around like that, and we just assume people know what that is or what that means. But yeah, so there are 12 embodiment practices in the masterclass so that you can really start to go from understanding your emotions in your mind. Maybe you're well versed, you've gone to therapy or counseling or something like that, or you journal a lot. So maybe you have the cognitive piece and understanding and connection with your emotions, but you're looking for more embodiment. Even if you don't, even if you don't feel connected to your emotions at all, cognitively or otherwise, this will be a beautiful way to really open the door for your emotional power to really come through. So let's see what other questions people have about the class. It's 90 minutes long. It's an automatic download. So once you purchase the course and you put in your email and information, you automatically get sent access to the course. It's through a little membership portal. So you will use the email that you use to sign up, and you'll go into the membership portal and you'll have the course available to you. And there's the 90-minute video. It has each practice has the time in the video that I explain it. So I recommend people watch the masterclass once through, maybe take notes, maybe just listen and soak it in. And then when you want to go do the masterclass, really have space for it and privacy, you can just go to the actual time and choose which practice you want to try out. And then you get to try it out on your own. And you can do this with partners. I think it's really beautiful to be witnessed doing these practices and doing them in community. Definitely be mindful of how you do that and make sure you're doing it in community who can hold the space for witnessing somebody else's emotions, and everybody feels really safe and trusting and feels like everybody has good boundaries. I wouldn't just start doing these embodied emotional practices with just anybody, because it really does move it. They're doing something. They're really impactful experiences and exercises. And yeah, it's sacred. It's something to take seriously and to really honor and appreciate what's going on there. So yeah, other questions. It's going to be on sale for as long as I don't know, for as long as I feel like it's going to be on sale. It's just going to be on the website. It's $69 right now, and it's on my website, which the link is in the descriptions. The link directly to the masterclass is in the description. You get to keep it for life. Oh, is this masterclass appropriate for maybe people who are carrying active trauma? And what I'd say about that is, first, you know yourself the best. And if you're feeling sensitive or tender, or like maybe you've never held yourself through emotions associated to this trauma, then I would say, always first and foremost, listen to your own intuition and your gut, and trust yourself, which can be really hard to do when we've experienced trauma. And so the second thing I would say is err on the side of gentleness, err on the side of taking it slow. There's no need to rush through this. There's no scarcity here. There's no like, you're never going to get a chance to do emotional power practices ever again. You can absolutely take your time with this. You can also, purchase the course and then come back to it later when you'll be more ready, or maybe when you have a little bit more support, or you've moved through the trauma a little bit more, because this is a do-it-yourself self-guided course. I won't be live there to support you or help you as you're going through the practices. That's what I do with my one-on-one clients. And if you think you need that level of support, definitely get on my wait list. But in these, one-off master classes, it is self-guided. And so you definitely want to be in a place where you feel confident to self-guide yourself through this. So that's my sort of maybe open-ended answer for if you're experiencing, or if you have, a little bit more active trauma that you're navigating. Who is this masterclass for? This masterclass is for honestly, it's for anybody, in the sense of anybody who wants to have a deeper relationship to their emotions, anybody who wants tools and practices for themselves and others to connect with, to embody, to process, to integrate, to digest, to develop and grow an empowered relationship to their emotions. This class is for you. This class, absolutely, these tools can work with kids, children of lots of ages, even young kiddos can understand this stuff. And that's what I mean by 12 simple practices. And I even, Magic is only 9 months old. And when he's crying or having an intense emotion, I hold space for it. I use these very tools. I breathe, I take deep breaths, I soothe his nervous system. Like, knowing this information and understanding these tools can apply to people of all ages. Absolutely, young children, adolescents, young adults. I mean, every person at every stage of their life is navigating intense emotions. And these body-based tools are, I believe, appropriate for anybody, who honestly, anybody. You don't even have to feel like, oh, I'm stuck with an emotion. But of course, if you're feeling stuck or disconnected from your emotions, or like your emotions control you or anything like that, absolutely. And even if you don't think you need it, um, I would just encourage you just to get curious and to check it out anyways, because I think you'll learn something new. And I think these tools can just be utilized in so many different situations and can benefit so many different parts of our life. So this masterclass, I've said it, is for everybody. And obviously nothing is for everybody and nobody is for everybody, but it really is that broad and that useful and valuable. So definitely consider that. Any other questions about the masterclass? Well, I think those are the main questions I could think of. Don't let this masterclass be just another little course or self-help thing that you get that sits on the shelf and collects dust. And if it does start collecting dust, also trust that it will pop off the shelf exactly when it's supposed to. And you'll be so glad that you had it there, waiting for the moment when you were really ready to dive into your own emotional power. Um, these tools are so simple. There's no reason not to check it out and to really start embodying them. Even people who have an excellent relationship with their emotions, these tools will help deepen that and continue the journey. Because as we know, emotions are seasonal and they are coming in and out multiple times a day. And all of us need the support to navigate that. It's such a huge part of our lives, our emotions, if you really think about it. Yeah, don't let this class just sit on the shelf. Jump into it, make the time, 90 minutes, try it out. Even when you just listen to the master class once through, you will pick up, they're so simple. You'll just pick up things that you can start doing day in and day out. And actually, as I was just telling somebody, I do really recommend, sometimes people get these tools and they just wait to use them until they're in an active, like emotional state where they need, the tools to help them. And it's totally fine. You can absolutely use them in the moment. And you will have a better experience if you actually practice these tools a few times when you're not emotionally charged. Then that way, when you are emotionally charged, your body and you already know how to do it. It's like there's already some muscle memory developed there, so that when you're also holding the weight and the intensity of the emotional charge and the emotional experience, you can grab and fall into these tools so much more naturally. I feel that way about emotional tools. I feel that way about communication tools. I feel that way about sexuality and pleasure tools. I mean, really, I feel that way about all the things. So practice them when you're not in the charge, in the heat of the moment. Then that way, when you are, it works a lot better and you're a little bit more practiced, hence the word practice. So that's my little spiel about the Emotional Power Masterclass. I did want to say before I jump off, for today's episode, that the podcast might be coming to a bit of a pause. As you all know, I have the last few episodes, or when I came back, I alluded to some health challenges that I'm experiencing. And I really wanted to tell you all about them on the podcast, mostly because I have gotten so much from people who share their story, um, online or on podcasts or whatever, just stories. When people share their stories, and their experiences, especially, I mean, of course, through the good times and the beautiful things in life, but especially when they're navigating hard stuff. I get so much out of it, and it's so humanizing and so permission giving. And I wanted to do that with you all. And it's interesting, my body just feels like a full no. She's not ready to share this, I guess. And so I've just noticed a bunch of resistance and a bunch of hesitation. And I checked in with myself, like, is this resistance that I need to kind of, work through and break through? And on the other side of the resistance is something great? Or is this genuine resistance that has some wisdom to it, and wisdom of, like, you know, pause, hold, take a minute. We're not totally ready. When I checked in, the resistance was telling me I wasn't ready to share it, that it was, I don't know, maybe it's too fresh, it's too raw, I think there's too much fear tied into it, that my body's just not ready to share it. So I haven't shared much details about it, but it's definitely still a journey. If you've ever seen one of those funny memes where, it's like comparing one chart, what people think healing is, and it's like this straight line, you know, up like a 90-degree trajectory, perfect, like healing. We just get incrementally better. And then the other graph is like what healing actually is. And it's like a loop-de-loop, like a bumblebee line. And it's like going back and forth. And that definitely is my experience with healing, all types of healing. And so I'm on that journey, and I'm kind of looping back, and I'm needing to just to pull back even more, and to really allow myself, I think, to just go into a bit of a cocoon, to really focus, and allow myself and my body the space and the time and the attention and the priority to heal, to get better, to figure out, what's going on. And so there's, a good chance I'll be slowing down the podcast again, or pausing. And so episodes won't be coming out every week. And I just have to trust my body, and trust that it's all going to work out, and that, you know, this is part of the work. This is what I would tell my clients to do, my loved ones to do, to first and foremost listen to themselves, listen to their body, their deepest needs. Some people would say, listen to your pussy, as Mama Gina teaches us. And to trust, to just trust that whatever the journey ends up needing to look like, it's going to be okay. And this has been hard, to allow myself to pause, and to really let myself surrender and consider stepping back and slowing down even more, especially after having to go on maternity leave, and take time off for that. There's this definite, like, workhorse, I call it the energizer bunny in me, that just wants to go, 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 create, love this work. And part of it is because I genuinely do love this work. And part of it is conditioning and other things around go, go, going, doing, instead of slowing down and being and healing and allowing and surrendering. And so, this is a terrifying thing for me. Thank goodness for my emotional power tools, because it's helped me navigate the fear, of what it means to slow down and step back, and trust that I can hold it all and come back to it, and when I'm better. And frankly, that's exactly what I have to do, is, like, And this is the whole point of this work. And it is coming from a full cup. And I think that's something that's so hard for us, for people of all genders, really. I will say, especially women and femmes, but I think all genders. And yeah, anyway, it's, we try to give, and we never let ourselves receive. We don't fill up our cup. We give from a tank, and we give and we give, and the tank gets lower and lower and lower, instead of filling up our tank full and then continuing to fill up our tank, so much so that we have overflow. And it's from that overflow, and only from that overflow, that we give. That is where the sustainability is. That's the revolution. That's transformation. That's fucking power. And that is why I feel like I am, despite the fear, despite the conditioning, despite all the things, I'm finally ready. And part of me is like, oh, why couldn't you, like, you should have done this years ago. Sure, I could have, but I wasn't ready like I apparently am now. And I'm sure there's still going to be more pieces of this journey, of this letting go, that I'm not ready for today, that I'm going to keep learning about and keep realizing of like, oh, now I'm ready to let that one go, or now I'm ready to surrender to this. And so right now I'm just on the precipice of fully surrendering to what's going on with me health-wise, and fully surrendering to this deep wisdom and belief that if I'm going to build anything in this world, it's going to be sustainable. It's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be different, because what we're currently living with and doing ain't it. It ain't it. And I don't want to be a part of it. And so I have to embody my own values and fill up my cup. And when my cup is full and begins to overflow, that's when I want to start giving again. And so that's really scary and hard to say. And of course, it's more nuanced and complicated than that beautiful little little ditty, because I also have a child that does need me, whether my tank is full or not. And also I have support, and I will continue to find support so that my child's needs aren't entirely on my plate, so that I actually have a chance to fill this tank up. So wish me luck on that, you all. I wish that for you all as well. That is the fucking radical pleasure revolution, is filling your tank up with pleasure, giving from pleasure, overflow. And I'm here for it. And I'm on my own journey with it as well. And I'm really glad that I get to be on this journey with you all. So in the meantime, if you all miss me, or want to hear from me, or want to be the first to connect with me when I'm back, for sure, get on my wait list. That link is always in the show notes. And you can be, in my DMs on Instagram and send me messages. And I know some of you have my phone number and know me personally, and you all know how to get a hold of me, but I for sure would love to stay in touch with you all. You can send me emails. Let me know how you're doing on this journey. And I believe that community is healing. And so I'm here for it. Even if the podcast episodes are going to slow down or come to a pause altogether, we'll see. But we're not going away. We're here for good. Can't get rid of us that easy. And I so appreciate you all for listening and tuning in and supporting me and this movement and this work and supporting yourselves and filling up your own goddamn tanks. And I just love y'all. So until next time, radical pleasure, babes. Mwah. Thank you, magical beings, for tuning in and being a part of the Radical Pleasure Revolution with me. It's truly a collective movement we're part of. Be sure to rate, subscribe, leave a review, and share. It really helps this movement grow, and I so appreciate it. And finally, just a reminder to check out the show notes for any links referenced in this episode, as well as info on how you can connect with me and my work if you're interested in going deeper or wanting my personalized and professional support around sex, love, and relationships. I work one-on-one with individuals, couples, and moresomes, as well as offer transformational group coaching programs and educational DIY courses. So don't be shy. I'm so committed to your healing, empowerment, and liberation, and I'm only a couple clicks away. Until next time, XOXO.